This video focuses on the morphemic layer of English orthography. Specifically, this video is the second one in a three-part series. It will focus in on describing morphemes, specifically two types of suffixes. If you missed the first one, it was about defining morphemes. So you might want to go back and watch that one, or if you need to go review what morphemes are and the different types, that will help you understand this video a little better. Then the following video, the one after this one, is going to explain morphemes as it relates to spelling and those spelling changes that have to happen when we add certain suffixes to the ends of words. This video was created by faculty in the Literacy Education program at Appalachian State University. If you have any questions about the morphemic layer videos, please reach out to Dr. Morgan Blanton. So let's think about English orthography and the three layers of English orthography so that we can see where the morphemic layer fits into the bigger picture. The first layer is the alphabetic layer or the phonemic layer. That's where you focus in on individual sounds and letters. The second layer is the pattern layer, also called the syllabic layer, where you think about the groups of letters that come together to make sounds. And then the last one is the morphemic layer or the meaning layer. And that's very much what it sounds like. It's groups of letters that come together and they have meaning. When they're added to a word or if they're part of a word, they carry meaning. So in this video, we're going to describe two types of suffixes, inflectional suffixes and derivational suffixes. Let's look at this, the side where we're looking at inflectional suffixes first. Inflectional suffixes do not mark or change the part of speech. So, for example, when you add ed or ing to the end of a word, it's marking the tense, but it remains a verb. Same for nouns. When you add s or es to make them plural, they remain nouns, but it's just the plural version of it. And then the last one for adjectives, when you add er or est, they remain adjectives, but you're now indicating that you're comparing two or more things. Let's look at the other side though. Derivational suffixes. These do mark or indicate or change that part of speech. For example, when you see a word that has the suffix ment, ness, or ist, you know that it is now a noun. Regardless of what it was before, it is now a noun. When you add ly, ward, or wise to the end of a word, then that indicates that it is now an adverb. For verbs, when you see ate, eyes, or ify at the end of a word, and it's added as the suffix, then you know now that that word is now a verb. And then for adjectives, when you add iv or ive, full, it, or able to the end of a word, it is now a describing word. It's now an adjective. So we're going to look at a few more examples of what that might look like in words. We're going to start with the inflectional suffixes. Again, these do not change the part of speech, but it does indicate maybe a tense shift. So for example, the base word sign is a verb. I sign my name to the contract. But if I did it yesterday, or even 5 minutes ago, if I did it in the past, I signed my name to the contract. And so adding ed does not change it from being a verb. It just changes or marks the tense. The next one, mountain, is a noun. When I add the suffix s to the end of it, then it just means more than one mountain. So it's still a noun. It just means it's plural now. The last one, great, that's an adjective. If I add est to the end, now I'm saying not only am I describing something, but I'm describing it in comparison to other things. Now, the next few slides are going to be about the derivational suffixes. Specifically, we're going to look at them by part of speech. Let's first look at the noun markers. When you add these suffixes to the end of words, they are now nouns, regardless of what they were before. So forgive, which is a verb, it becomes a noun when you add ness to the end. Forgive is an action. Forgiveness is a noun. It's something that you can receive. Forgive is something that you do. The next one, excite, is a verb. When you add ment to the end, now it's excitement. It's kind of a thing or an idea. The last one, style, there is a spelling change with this one, but style is a verb, but when you add ist to the end, now you're talking about the person who might do your hair, the stylist. The next kind of derivational suffixes are the adverb markers. Here you have three base words, kind, back, and clock. Kind is an adjective, but it becomes an adverb when you add ly to the end. You can say someone is kind, you're describing the person, but if you say, he kindly spoke to me, then you're describing how he spoke, which makes it an adverb. Back is a verb. Now, an example of the way I'm using back here is I'm going to back my car down the driveway. So back is a verb here. Backward means it's an adverb now. So if I say I'm going to move backward, I'm describing how I'm moving. So it's now an adverb. It's describing the verb. But just back, like I will back my truck down the road, then that is a verb. So adding ward to the end of it makes it an adverb. And then the last one, clock, is a noun. But when you add clockwise, when you add wise, you make it clockwise, then you've turned that noun into an adverb. You're saying this is how we're going to move around the room. We're going to move clockwise around the room. But clock is an actual thing. So it's a noun. The next one is for verb markers. This next type of derivational suffixes. You have these bases, fix, normal, and solid. Fix is a verb, and ate makes it stay a verb. I think this one is interesting because it doesn't necessarily change its part of speech necessarily, but it does indicate, it marks it when you add ate to the end that it is a verb. Normalize, normal is an adjective, and then to normalize something, to normalize a way of doing things, that's a verb. So eyes makes it a verb. And then solid becomes solidify. So solid is a noun, but if something solidifies, or if you put it in the freezer so it will solidify, then it becomes a verb. And the last one here is for adjective markers. These are going to describe things. And again, you see a spelling change here. Create becomes creative. So create is a verb, becomes creative when you're describing someone. It's an adjective. Meaning is a noun, and then it becomes an adjective when you add full to the end, meaningful. And then inflate is a verb. When you add able to the end, now it's describing something like an inflatable jumpy house. Then it is now describing something versus I had to inflate the jumpy house. That is the verb. So there's lots of different types of derivational suffixes that end up marking or changing the parts of speech, just like these.